Hi you guys, how are you doing? Good afternoon. Hi cubies and newbies. I am Sunshine. I'm the creator of the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. Works on every size Rubik's Cube, every complexity, every intensity Rubik's Cube. 2x2 through as high as you want to go, it solves them all. Formula A brings a piece to the top, 4 moves. Formula B moves 3 pieces around. And the top row, 2 columns. The 2 columns are dictated by which pieces you want to move around. If you work a, excuse me, sorry. If you use 2 outside columns, it works corners. Outside, inside column, it moves edges around. And 2 inner columns move centers around. You don't have to remember which columns do which. You just pick a piece that you want to apply it to, and that piece dictates, where the piece is dictates which columns you move, because the columns are where that cube began and where that cube wants to end up. And every other move is horizontal, so it's 8 moves. And because those 2 are the only moves that you do, it's easy to remember what they are. So, how are you guys all doing today? Oopsie. Let's see. I just disappeared. I did a refresh the list, and I disappeared. I'm not here anymore. All right. Novelty item. This came in the mail. Look at this. This is so cool. Magnetic version of, I don't know what those words say, but it's so pretty. You guys, it's so pretty. Look at this. Let's see. There we go. That's the card that came with it. Can we not get a reflection there? All right, here we go. It's so shiny. Ooh, oh, that's so smooth. It's metallic. Oh, metallic. Oh, it's very, very light. Very, very light, as opposed to the, I have a dragon one that's really heavy. But this is, it's very it's reflective. Oh my goodness, we can see our chat. We can see the camera. There you go. There's a camera. So really, really light. Really, really loose. Really, really loose. Okay, that's pretty. And then these ones, keychain. This is just the keychain, but I have a pen that's the same thing. You have to line up the centers in order to take the cap off the pen, because of the, so that's fun. That's fun. This is slightly larger than the pen, and does not come with the pen. All right, it's just line it up, and it does nothing. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, corners. You can work on any order that you want. I work from the outside in, simply because every cube has 8 corners, and you can work on any of them. And then as you progress through the things, each cube drops off being done, and it shows more of the other thing that's been going on. So corners. Here's a yellow, and so I look to see look at the next corner next to it, see if there's a yellow anywhere on this corner, and there is not. So I look at the cube underneath it, and there is. So as long as I'm working on yellow first. As long as there's a yellow in one of these two corners, formula A will bring it to the top. That's using the bottom row and the right-hand column. So out, down, in, up. Okay, yellow is not on top yet, so I keep going until the yellow is on top. Out, down, in, up. Out, down, in, up. Okay, when the yellow is on top, slide it out of the way to keep the cube stable, and we'll work on the next corner to effect. Look and see whether there's a yellow there or underneath it. Again, formula A is going to swap these two and twist them around as it goes. So I have to start with the desired corner in one of these two places. If there's not, rotate the bottom 1/4 turn until the answer is yes to is there a yellow in one of these two corners. And then formula A brings it to the top, out, down, in, up. And so the first step is to bring your yellows to the top. Your first 4 corners, color on top. The next step is to look at the other colors. Each corner has 3 colors. The other colors, we've got green does not equal blue, see if they match. Red does not equal green. Orange equals orange. When it gets to this state, one of 3 things has to happen. Either all of these cubes will match to each other, like so, or none of them will match, or one side will match. It can't be any other way. You can't have 2 sides that match and the other 2 not match because of the nature of the cube. So when you have one side that matches, you hold the cube with those matches facing away from you, as if they're headlights driving away as you're driving the car. And then your formula B is going to reposition the corners. Rotate the top. First column up. Rotate the top the other direction. Second column up. Rotate down, back, down. And it looks like we've messed it up, but we haven't. We've moved them around, and A will bring our yellow back to the top again. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. And when your color's on top, slide the top to protect it, and continue affecting the next cube that falls into that place. And you will, to bring your color back to the top on all 4 corners, will be a multiple of 6 times. You don't have to know that, but it will be. And when your yellow comes back to the top, this time all of the sides are correct to each other. If none of them had been correct, it wouldn't matter which way you hold it to begin with, because after you do the B and A to bring it back to the top, then you'll have one side, and you'll know to hold that facing away from you. And so having done it twice, then you'll have your corners will match. And when the corners match, we put them face down, and we're going to abandon them. We're going to work on the second 4 corners the exact same way. We have to know what the corners are. If it's a standardized cube, opposite yellow is going to be white, but not all cubes are the standardized colors. So you look and see which color all of the 4 cubes have in common. The 4 cubes on top have in common, and it will be a color that not one of the 4 colors that's matching the bottom color. So white is, and so we look for the white. We start with the cube under our right thumb, the top front right corner cube, not having the white on top, because A is going to twist it to alter these 2 and twist it as it goes along. So we're going to bring our white color to the top on this cube. Not keep going, out, down, in, up. White is not on the top face yet. Keep going. and again. When white does find its way to the top, slide it out of the way to protect it, and continue affecting this. The white's not on top here, so we keep going. Okay, when white's on top, slide it out of the way, keep going. White's on top on all four corners. You can check and see that the yellow is still stable. If you had rotated the cube while you were doing that, instead of just the top row to keep it safe, the cube would have scrambled, but it did not, because A and B does not scramble the cube that you're working on. So red equals red, blue does not equal orange, so we've only got one side that matches. We face it away. Formula B, rotate the top first up, reverse the top second up, rotate down, reverse down, and A to bring your color back to the top. And this time we go from one side that matches to all four sides that match. And all the corners done the same way, regardless of the size or complexity of the cube. And when your white comes back to the top again, so you can see that the second four corners are now correct to each other. The first four corners remain correct to each other. So all that's left is to rotate the top row by quarter turns until the top and bottom are correct to each other. And then the 8 corners are done. And it's done the same way regardless of which cube you're working on. A brings the color to the top, B moves the pieces around, and then A brings the color to the top again if you need to move the pieces around. So A and B is all you need to solve the corners, and coincidentally it's all you need to solve the rest of them as well. Once you've gotten when I'm teaching, I'll say, okay, those corners are great, now do this one. Now do the corners on this one. Good, now do the corners on this one. And, you know, the first hour is just spent just doing the corners, just getting comfortable with A and B and how they work with each other. And then as I send them home to come back a week later, I'll say, by the way, B is adaptive. You can use it on other things as well. You pick a cube that you want to move, and if you use the outside and inner columns, you're moving edges around, 2 inner columns, and you're moving the centers around. So you pick a piece that you want to move, and I usually sticker them so you guys can follow along visually what my eyes are following. So for example, I've just worked with white and yellow, so I'm going to keep working with white and yellow. So I'm going to hold the cube where white and yellow are opposites on the outsides, and we're going to find a piece along the middle that has a white or a yellow on it, like this piece. Okay. My active color, white or yellow, is on top. If it was this way, I would flip it until it was on top. But yellow and white are left and right, either direction. Bring the corners together to match the front color. And then it's yellow, so the green and yellow is going to land above the green, yellow, and something corner. So it's going to land in this direction, not in the white direction. So this cube is going to land somewhere in this column. So this is my first column on Formula B, and this is my second column. So that's where the cube wants to land and where the cube began. So start by moving this piece away from the action. So I go away, first up, back, second up, away, down, back, down, and it has landed itself correctly in between the 2 green and yellow and something colors corners. I do that over and over again for however many whites or yellows there are in the center area, rotating it to make sure I catch them all. Okay, white and orange, bring the corners to match the front. It's going in the white direction, so that's this way. Hello, what is, oh, happy faces. Looks like happy faces. Hi, how are you doing? So the first column is where the cube wants to land. That's this column. Second cube is where the cube began. So to move this piece over to this side, it's the top row, first column, second column. So away, first up, back, second up, away, down, back, second down. 8 moves, and that cube is placed. Look for another white or yellow anywhere, and just keep doing that one piece at a time until the pieces are out of the center. Then you look to see whether your sides are correct, and they either, keep displacing garbage pieces into any misplaced spots to bring them to the middle where you can place them. So let's move to a smaller cube to demonstrate. Corners, I do the corners first, and then the corners tell me where the edges go, and then the corners and edges tell me where the centers go. So it's been a long week for me. How you guys all doing? Everybody happy? See my pretty cube? See my pretty cube? Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. There we go. Very, very light. This is the cube that it is. Whatever this. It was a magnetic version of DFANMX, it looks like. So that's fun. Formula A and B works on every complexity Rubik's Cube. It also works on the minxes, these minxes as well. The only difference between these is that you have to, the order of operations, in that you do the stars before you do the rest of the cubes, because the stars have unintended consequences when you do Formula B, as opposed to only moving 3 pieces and only 3 pieces around. This does not. These toys do not have parities, whereas a cube can have a parity. Parities are lies. You don't have to memorize parity algorithms. Parity is what happens when it looks like you have 2 pieces and only 2 pieces of a layer that need to be switched. For example, we say that parities only exist on larger cubes because with the larger cubes there's a emotional block for what you've already done, and you don't want to mess up the things that you've already done. But the same things can show up for the corners on just the 2x2 if you pay attention. Bottom 4 are correct to each other, top 4, 2 of them are correct, and so this cube goes here, this cube goes there. If this happened on a large cube and the rest of the cube looked solved, you would say, oh, it's a parity. But when you don't see the rest of the cube, when corners are all you see, you're not caught up in not turning your cube. So if you turn your cube 1/4 turn in either direction, then you have 3 cubes that need to be switched, and you know how to do those. So the only difference between the bigger or the smaller cube is that you're more likely to make the turn on the smaller cube, whereas if you make the turn on the larger cube, you see, oh, all these pieces that I had in place are now not there anymore. Well, if they had been correct, you wouldn't have the parity. So you can have pieces that it can look like it's correct, but if it looks like there's 2 pieces that are wrong and just 2 pieces, there's always 3. The third piece that you don't see is literally the piece that you don't see. It's the single layer that touches that parity. You make a 1/4 turn either direction of that row of your cube, and then you have 3 or more edge pieces that need to be placed, and those you know how to place, and then you can readjust your centers once your edges are correct, because the parity just means you have a 1/4 turn off, which is one reason why I do my centers last, so that turn to undo the parity, to dissolve the parity, is moving things that I haven't already placed, whereas most people do the reduction method and do the centers first. And when you pair up your edges, you're actually more likely to artificially create a parity that didn't have to be there. When I do my centers, I just place them one piece at a time, direct solve, as opposed to pairing them up and then solving them. That just seems to me to be two different solves. You're solving it as if it were a 3x3, and then you're solving it as the 3x3, as opposed to just picking a piece that's incorrect. Like this red and white. Corners match the front. It's going in this direction. Away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down, and it's placed. We do that one piece at a time as we come up, as we just, anytime we have a yellow or white in the middle, we throw it to the left or right where it belongs until the centers are solved. That is an awful lot of explaining. Monologuing is not my favorite. I love teaching. So ask me questions. Tell me how long you've been cubing. Tell me what got you into cubing. Tell me what's your favorite method. I have been cubing since the early 80s. Tell me I don't look that old. I have been cubing since the 80s. This is the book that I learned from. This just happened to be the one that was on sale at my local 7-Eleven on the book rack. So I bought it and memorized it. And once I had memorized it, then I began teaching my friends, and then their friends, and then their friends, and eventually the bullies stopped bullying me so they could get in the perimeter of my cloud and say, "Hi, will you teach me too?" So being able to solve the Rubik's Cube, to teach the Rubik's Cube, was literally and figuratively how I survived middle school and high school, was the fact that I could cube. And it was fun. Cubes were different back then. Nowadays you just think in motion, and you've practically made the turn already, and you don't have to be lined up because the cubes will corner to correct themselves. This is a cube from the 80s. This was the Rubik's game, came out in 1982, and it was wildly popular. You all know how to play it, I'm sure. Sarcasm. It had these little pegs that you would put inside the pieces of the cubies, and you and your friend would take turns turning a single slice and putting a peg in, and the goal was to be the person who got tic-tac-toe 3 in a row of your color on the right side, something like that. But anyway, the cube, you can hear that. There was no cornering. There was no finger tricks. You had to have it lined up, and it took two hands to turn it. You could not move it with just one finger, one hand. So which means that for everyone who's beat the first record holder, you did it with a cube that was easier to move. So try your speed solving on a cube from the 80s and see how fast your 11 seconds translates to back then. So that's fun. This was one of the cards that I created working on. This is Formula A. You've got the out, down, in, up, and it will bring a selected color to the top for if you do the corners. If this row and this column, then it switches these two corners around, and if you apply it to the centers, that would be this row and this column, then it moves focus maybe, then it moves the centers around, gives you boxes like so. So that's the formula A. Formula B is these 8 moves. Top, slide to the top, first up, slide the top, second up, top, first down, top, second down. And if you work on the corners, it can move the corners around. If you only have corners, it can move the edges around. If you have a larger cube with 3x3, and if you have 2 inner columns, then it moves these center pieces around, like this. Up, slide, up, reverse, down, so the top, and we moved this piece to here, this piece to here, and this piece to here. So it looks like it's moving 2 pieces, but it's always moving 3 pieces around. Line it up, slide to a different row, second up, reverse, down, down. So just narrowed it down to just A and just B. I'm working on graphics. I'm going to put together a poster. I'm going to put together a keychain. I'm going to put together merch, maybe a hat and a t-shirt and fun things like that. But then this is my, as opposed to my competition. This is the F2L method, where you have to look at all of the possible permutations that you can have and which algorithms you have to memorize depending on where the pieces are. And you have to learn a new language. U means up and D means down and L means R and L means left and R means right, and plus mean, clockwise and counterclockwise, all that. And then you orient using this one, depending on what it looks like, and then you memorize this one. So I'll teach my method, and I'll say, by the way, this is how my competitors solve it. And they look at it and they go, nope, no, thank you. And they take a picture of my A and B because I don't have it on keychains yet, but I will. So parodies. The blue is correct. The red is correct. So this is a corner parody. You rotate the quarter turn, and then you have 3 pieces that can be moved around. Formula B moves them around. And again. And then formula A brings your color piece to the top. Slide it out of the way to protect it. Keep going. Slide it, oops. Keep going. Looking at green. I had green as my top. I usually have a white yellow, so I got confused. So formula A, formula B, all you need from whatever state your cube is in, and you can bring it to solved. Let's fix this one. Formula A, the 3 that moves the centerpiece around, it's the top, front, and right that are the colors that move. So if those are lined up like so, formula A will get it back to solved. Out, down, in, up. So no one wants to chat today. That's okay. I'll be back here tomorrow. I've been neglecting my cubes in favor of I've been working with my minxes this week because they're new. But formula A and B also works on these cubes, these non-cubes as well. Formula A brings color to the top and twists it around. B moves 3 pieces around. And the difference between the minxes and the cubes is that the cube can give you a parity, the minxes cannot. But again, a parity is a single quarter turn off and you resolve the cube and you're fine. This one has an order of operations where the cubes do not because, well, let me demonstrate really quickly. if I'm moving this cube, if I want to move this piece to over here, if I want to move this piece to over here, this is this top row. First column is where it wants to land, second column is where it began. So if it's going in this direction, that'd be first column, second column. We move it away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down, and it as advertised, it moved 3 pieces, only 3 pieces. And twice more, and you're back to your beginning state. Okay, once more, up, up, down, down. Whereas if I wanted to move to this side, I can't cross the divide with V, so I would turn it this way, and so this piece these 3 pieces would rotate. So this would go, this piece would come here, this piece, these 3 pieces would switch. So I'll demonstrate that one again. Up, up, down, down, and again, up, up, down, down. So that's how the edge pieces move. Down. The center pieces, same principle. Pick a piece, this piece. Okay, to move this piece to the top, this is my first column, so I move this column up, rotate the top to put it into a separate column, so this is my second column, reverse, down, set the top, and it moves. This is how you move your center pieces around. Line it up, slide to a different column, second up, reverse, down, reverse, down. Corners, same thing. Top row, 2 columns outside here. Slide up, slide up, slide down, and it moved 3 corner pieces around. Up, up, down, down, these 3, and again, up, up, down, down. The difference being that when you apply that to the absolute center, when one of your columns is the center column, it moves these 3 edges pieces around as would be predicted, but it has the unintended effect of moving some of the edges and the corners as well. So if you've already placed that, and when you do the side edges, you can do the side edges, but then you just have to replace the corners and edges. So if you do the stars part of the cube, part of the Minx first, then that does not weigh into, it does not bear any consideration because you haven't solved them already, so it doesn't matter that you have to reset them. But you can indeed move just these 3 pieces around. Again, this is my first column, this is my second column, so I go up, up, down, down, and that moved these three around. It also affected the edges and the corners, so I could place those individually and leave the centers where they are. You could do that. So I'm back. I have, so A and B works on every Minx, every cube. I haven't tried it with a Pyraminx yet, just because I haven't had a Pyraminx yet to try it on. But it also works on some Band-Aid cubes. I don't know how many because the only one I've tried it on is the Wood Eden 3x3x9. And A and B is all you need to solve that one as well. Parities are solved by the same way, just a single quarter turn of whatever layer touches the parity. And the parity dissolves. A and B solves the rest of the cube, and everybody's fat and happy. So that's an overview. If you've just joined me, I'm Sunshine. I think most of these names here look familiar. I think you all know me. All right, I will be back here tomorrow to play with whatever you guys want to play with. And I'll be back next week as well. So you guys go have a nice weekend. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.